Stick around for then. We have a special Christmas giveaway. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Dirt Kings Podcast. My name is Jonathan Barrett. I'm going to be your host this week. Today we have Colton Klein and Caleb Fritchie. We're going to be going over cover crop programs and fertilizer to put down, but also spring programs and a couple of our products, customer testimonials, personal experience, what we're planning on doing going into the spring, and hope you guys enjoy. Let's start out with cover crops. So customer-wise, what do you guys been seeing mainly cover crop-wise this year?
Lately, a lot of winter wheat.
Winter wheat?
A lot more winter wheat. Actually, a lot more winter wheat than I've ever dealt with. Usually it's ryegrass.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seemed like maybe ryegrass cost a little bit more for seed this year.
Well, I've noticed it being more scarce on finding the ryegrass seed, at least in our area.
In bulk.
Sold out.
Yeah. You can go to Tractor Supply and get a bag of it.
I don't know. The Tractor Supply was still sold out. Ryegrass.
I believe that. Yeah. This morning I went over to a local dairy to get some natural, dairy products for my wife and family and everything. And on the way out there, all I saw was wheat fields. Mm-hmm. Nothing else. Straight wheat, and I mean that's North Texas for us, and I'm sure that's a lot of Oklahoma up there.
Yeah.
A lot of winter wheat.
Not as even much focus as cover crop. It's just traditionally what they do in the winter.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
most of my state stuff is hay and pasture, so a lot of those guys are just mowing down for the year,
right?
Dumping their cows on it.
Right. The importance of doing the cover crop for a lot of people that might not know, erosion control in your states that have shorter growing periods, I should say, but longer winters. It's important to run a cover crop to trap snow onto the fields. Mm-hmm. You trap the snow ends up melting, and you're kind of harvesting water, and that's going to help a lot going into a short growing season. 90-day beans in real quick, get them done, get them harvest, especially for places like Minnesota. You got a lot more snow there than they do warm weather.
Well, even if you're not harvesting your cover crop, biggest thing I've seen there as well is keeping nutrients around, which goes into the same thing as erosion control, but keeping leaching from happening.
Right.
Has been a big thing for a lot of my corn and soybean guys are even putting down ryegrass during the winter, even though they don't have cattle, to keep the nutrients around and then come back in the spring.
Now,
those 90-day gestation period.
For your guys that are running cover crops as ryegrass or winter wheat, what are we really doing? What are some of the fertilizer protocols you're going with?
So for me, it depends on what we're utilizing the cover crop for. So if we're doing ryegrass as a cover crop for soybeans and corn, then really no fertilizer is being applied. We're just trying to get in something.
Disc it or till it in at the end.
Exactly.
Incorporate it. Yeah.
But if we're looking to harvest it, like with your winter wheat that you're actually trying to get a harvest off of, and then turn it into beans after, usually I'm coming in with a starter fertilizer with high P&K right at planting. And then once we get a good amount of growth out there, then I'll come in with my nitrogen. But that's usually around January, February timeframe.
Right.
Where I'm hitting it with that.
Right. Colton?
Like I said, a lot of hay and pasture in my states.
Yeah.
But a lot of folks are gonna focus on nitrogen fertilizers for growth potential.
Yeah.
And some of the cover crop guys that I have, they do focus largely on nitrogen, just because it's what they're looking to get in their soil anyways.
Right. Absolutely.
And do you run into much ryegrass?
Not really. See a lot more legume stuff. Mm-hmm. See a lot more wheat. Yeah. But not a lot of rye in my area.
Going into the spring, what are you guys focusing on with your customers and also your farms on getting things prepped for spring, getting things in shape?
Right now, every single farm I'm working with, we're looking at doing soil testing. If we don't already got soil tests going, then I'm trying to do very, very early spring soil tests. And I'm talking like trying to get that soil test pulled, right before things start coming out of dormancy. And then planning out the roadmap. If it's corn, bean, row crops, of course, we got specialized times where we need to target nutrients. What I've been focusing on this fall going into the winter is making sure calcium saturations are where we want to be. Lots of people, especially hay and pasture guys, broom stage comes in the fall time. So that's when they're like, hey, I'm having a little bit of a pH issue, maybe a little too much hydrogen in the soil. Let's get some liquid calcium. Get that down, even though we like to apply it in springtime because of the calcium availability to it. If you apply it in the fall time, it gives it just like that perfect amount of padding to be just right for the springtime. So lots and lots of fall applications of calcium have been going on, but really just getting soil tests done, getting the whole application methods, all those written out. As far as winter prep goes, I got some guys that are getting, doing pre-buys, getting their orders ready to go, getting their tax write-offs out of the way. This time period is all laying it out on a piece of paper, step 1 through 10 of what, you got to take care of. Lots of planning,
I'm seeing a lot of the same stuff. A lot of my guys are, getting the dirt work done that they need prior to next year's planting. Hay pasture guys, the rake hung up here, the blade hung up here. Let's get that fixed before next year. Winterizing equipment, seeing a lot of that. But a lot of folks, that I'm talking to, a lot of foresight, thinking about what they're going to do next year to keep their yields high or increase their yields if they weren't currently getting them. But, a lot of interest in calcium, a lot of interest in lime.
Yeah.
And that's everybody I talk to. They may venture off into fertilizer and want to talk about a little bit of that, but the major inquiries is getting everything limed, getting pH corrected.
Yeah. You both have used a lot of our products on your farms and seeing firsthand with customers. What would you say is the highest return on investment? I'll start out with you this time.
So it's funny that you say that. We just picked up some ground that we're going to have to do a lot to. And, just with the ground that I've already applied products on, the thing that I'm going to come in very heavy with is Advanced-Cal. Probably also going to, on the new piece of property, focus a lot on humic because it's just very, very poor sandy pasture. But Advanced-Cal, BioAct, and humic are going to be my big hammers this year on a lot of my ground. Just looking to improve quality. That one piece of property has been overgrazed. I think it had actually been dry lot for a farmer. It's got about 80 acres of tillable ground, and then the rest of it is pasture. And I use that word pasture loosely on this property. It's like put grass. It's been sandpapered. Yeah. But working with a farmer that leases the farm ground, we're going to talk to him a little bit about some products, things that I think that we can fix the ground with. The way it'd been farmed is it's been, year in, year out wheat. That's what he'd done.
Right.
And he'd have a good year every now and then, but then 3 or 4 consecutive bad years. Wheat would yellow out, fall apart. And I know it's a pH issue.
Yeah.
I asked him, I was like, hey, have you ever limed that? Has anyone ever limed it? And the lady that we bought it for, her family had owned it for like 80 years. And she said that she'd never known it to be limed. Wow. So I'm expecting some huge stuff on that ground. And I think we're going in with beans this year and then, restoring that pasture. So I'm looking at heavy loads of humic, heavy loads of calcium.
Yeah.
To get it there.
Yeah, no, the legumes, beans, legumes, love that calcium. Love it. I think it's more often than not I see a lot of corn and bean guys running at least a gallon of it per year just for the availability aspect.
Absolutely.
What's your highest return on investment that you've seen off of product?
BioAct by far. For those of y'all that don't know, BioAct is a prebiotic that will increase your microbial bacteria. It has a seed starter, germinator, root growth promoter. It has amino acids and trace minerals. Enzymes. What else am I forgetting that BioAct
it's got
into it?
Cobalt, boron, manganese, copper, zinc,
micronutrients.
But what that prebiotic does there, to kind of expound on yours, microbes in the soil, they divide like cells in the body. Yep. And so what you're doing there is you're stimulating reproduction with those microbes, and so causing them to divide and overdrive. Yeah. And so I would agree with that. Being that we mix that into pretty much everything,
it's a specialty product. It literally, I run about 32 ounces an acre. I know everyone has a little bit of their twist of how many exact ounces they want to run. 32 ounces to an acre is a sweet spot. I don't know exactly how much that costs, but I think it usually comes out to around 12, the higher $12 an acre, something around there, 32 ounces. I've seen exponential growth on corn. I've seen pretty darn good growth on beans as far as increasing of bushels. Definitely the product pays itself off. Absolutely. You know when that hay just gets to that perfect length where it starts getting so dark, you just can't even really tell what color it is.
Turns almost purple.
People are calling it black gold, purple gold. I mean, it's just dark green. You know, it really helps that out. But I think the most important aspect on the BioAct that I see myself on the hay and pasture side is the total digestible nutrient increase and the crude protein. On the corn and bean side, I've just seen BioAct increase growth rate and the yield. The yield that I've seen come off of BioAct. Oh, and one of the other really cool things is, have you ever seen, I think it was Tim, the picture Tim took of the bean roots, the BioAct treated and non-BioAct treated? The beans, if you find this picture, please show it on this podcast, because there's a picture that we have somewhere of BioAct treated beans versus non-treated beans, and the roots and the nodule systems and everything that the BioAct treated beans have. It's mind-blowing. It's super cool. So definitely my answer is BioAct.
And the beauty of BioAct is it pretty much mixes with anything. I mean,
Yep.
we mix it with the fertilizers and the lime. But I mean, if you were putting it down by
Herbicides.
itself, you could put it with your burn down, your 2,4-D if you're doing hay. You can pretty much do anything, and that saves you an extra pass around the field with a product.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, if you have your program locked in and you think you've got as much as you can get out of what you're doing, add a little BioAct to it.
BioAct,
It's cool. It unlocks things that most folks, including myself in a lot of situations, don't know is available to you.
Right. It's kind of like, I'm not going to name the companies, but there's companies out there that do minerals and micronutrient packages. And they cost pretty much the same as BioAct, but they don't have the amino acids. They don't have the extra humic you get with BioAct. They don't have
The prebiotic.
the prebiotic aspect, the enzymes. Of course, we need the trace minerals. Of course, we need the micronutrients. But if we're going to do it for that cost, we might as well do BioAct with, a lot of extra lickies and chewies that come along with it.
That's it.
Customer experience. What is some of your guys' favorite customers' experiences with, any of the products?
For me, it was actually personal customer experience. Miller actually set me up with the BioAct and calcium in my garden first because I was hesitant as a potential customer. And we got out in the garden and I saw some things that I've never seen in my garden before. One of which was, we cage our tomatoes and peppers every year to hold the weight that we're producing. Well, we did the recommended rate of calcium, and I think we did 32 ounces of BioAct. And my tomatoes actually pulled the cages up out of the ground. And so they were growing standalone with the cages just hanging around the top. And then my peppers, first year ever, I haven't had issues with my peppers breaking down from the weight because I grow a lot of production style stuff. And it all stood on its own. And on top of that fact, the pest issues that I had in my garden severely decreased. I don't know if that's because of the microbial life, because that does combat a lot of pests. We didn't deal with squash bugs. We didn't deal with potato bugs. Any of that kind of stuff. Didn't have to treat for those things.
Yeah.
And so that coupled with the kind of yields that we were getting was just ridiculous.
I know this doesn't matter at all, but when me and my wife bought the property we live at now, there was a flower pot out front and it just had old dirt in it. Nothing's growing in it. Well, I went to Pilot Point Feed, which is one of my dealers, and they had these little wildflower packets. I was like, hey, can I have one of these? Yeah. No, I ripped that sucker open, just dumped it in that pot for the fun of it, and poured some BioAct in it. Oh, dude, the flower pot. My wife was so happy. That was awesome. Growing some wildflowers. No, for customers, I would say Nitro-Maxx and the Advanced-Cal both are probably two of fan favorites for the customers. Obviously, Advanced-Cal because everyone's coming to us 95% of the time because they don't want to pay what limestone costs and how long limestone takes to
Or even
have
be
an
able to
effect.
get it to 'em.
Yeah. Or some people, I get them on the phone and they're like, Caleb, I've been waiting in line to get limestone since 1997. And I'm like,
Right?
it's been a while.
Well, ease
So I have a
about
gentleman I've been
Ease-
working
yeah.
with this year, and he said that the limestone quarry told them they'd bring him one truck a week, and he's got 2,000 acres. Well, a truckload of lime at the rate he's doing will cover about 10 acres.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's 200 weeks. That's 4 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so by the time they're done, they're gonna have to start again. They don't even spread it, so they bring it out and drop it off.
You know how fast we
Then he
could-
has to hire somebody to spread it for him
Yeah.
once a week. And I was like, man, that doesn't even make any
You know how
sense.
fast it would take if you could drop everything that needs to be done in the world and you only had to focus on spraying 2,000 acres with ProCal. You know how fast you could get it done.
Oh, pretty incredible.
Yeah, pretty darn quick. I mean,
I don't know
think of
the
it
spray
when
rate, but-
when you're running. Well, we'll put it this way: the time it takes for two guys working a lime buggy, the time it takes them to cover 4 acres, I bet you got 40 acres covered in ProCal. You know what I mean? Easy.
Ease of application was a big selling point for me. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't tear up the equipment in a day and age where everything's $40.
Yeah.
Or 40 or 4,000.
Yeah.
It's nice to not have to worry
Well,
about the screens and all the stuff. On
I
your
have-
sprayer.
Advanced-Cal, whenever, of course, we all get skeptical customers 9 out of 10 times. Understandable, totally understandable. We got the university research and studies that can ease their pain. We got the knowledge and the training and the know-how. We have all the resources they possibly need, but whenever anyone's skeptical, I'm just like, run a 55-gallon drum, 5-gallon pail, whichever one they do, and it's like 2 to 3 weeks. They're calling back and they're like, okay, I'm ready to roll the rest.
Yep.
So super easy. But then the Nitro-Maxx, I've seen a huge that be a huge fan favorite.
Well, that's my favorite, definitely for hay. I mean,
Yeah.
even personally.
I mean, even corn, even bean, even
Yeah.
putting a little bit of on bean. There's I was looking over some protocols and stuff, and man, I'm going to be pushing Nitro-Maxx more this spring than I ever have before, and it's crappy that I say that because I've been
beans, you have to do it after the R5 stage.
told absolutely
Yeah,
you got to let them
because
mature. They're going to be
pods,
too young
yeah.
to get the testosterone they need. You got to let them mature to get the testosterone.
Well, not only that, the nodules on the root zone become underdeveloped
Mhm.
if you increase too much nitrogen, and you just won't
create a
have
lazy
nods.
bean.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So of course we gotta wait for that, but that's why we're going to make
Well,
sure we
we did
advise
a-
our
we did
customers
a-
not to do it, at planting or something like that.
2022, we did a study on beans, same program with nitrogen at the R5 stage, and then without nitrogen, we got a 4 bushel increase. So,
Yeah.
which I mean doesn't sound like a crazy amount when you say 4, but I mean at that point, beans were $16 a bushel.
And a 4 bushel increase
Yeah.
across 1,000 acres.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's-
incredible there.
Um,
And I would say Nitro-Maxx is probably one of my favorites personally. Advanced-Cal is my customer favorite for people, but personally on my hay production, Nitro-Maxx just blew me out of the water. When I put it down, I had brush hogged everything pretty low first, 3 inches on the
Golfer's
brush
grass.
hog. Yeah. Came across it with Nitro-Maxx about a week and a half later. I went out there and it was up to my knees on it.
That was when you sent us all the
Yeah.
Snapchat, yeah?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it floored me. I mean, I've been doing this for 9 years. That kind of reaction off of fescue was pretty
Well,
incredible.
You
to
got
see.
you got your nitrogen, of course. You got your 4% calcium, which plays a huge role, especially stabilizing the nitrogen. But then you got bioactive mixed in there. It's literally you put
the trifecta.
Yeah, exactly. Great symbiotic relationship going in with that product. I've had plenty of people, that are dealers now, but when they were looking at becoming dealers, one gentleman in North Carolina, he said, he runs a whole entire fertilizing operation. He says, I want to take granular and I want to do everything we can to try to match a granular and make a granular style of Nitro-Maxx. And he did. And when we're looking at the Nitro-Maxx, we're looking at $75 an acre. 8 gallons an acre, $75 an acre, which is actually a lot cheaper than tankers. But it's like $50 an acre. Anyway, besides that, the liquid versus the granular, $75 in the liquid. The granular, when he was able to make it, was like $215. $215 an acre. Which one you gonna go to? Okay, Jonathan, I know you do a lot of food plotting, but I am really interested on hearing kind of what your approach for your hay is going to be this year.
Yeah, great question. So I do want to come in with a little bit more Advanced-Cal. We pushed up the pH quite a bit last year on some new ground that I have, and so I want to hit that again with Advanced-Cal to just finish things out. Probably won't be very much.
That was because
couple gallons to the acre.
But you didn't hit it enough with enough Advanced-Cal due to pre-soil testing failures. We had a
Well, no, not necessarily that. So what had happened was I put on Nitro-Maxx first, and then it rained, and then like I was saying before, about a week and a half later, the grass was already at like 12 inches.
Right.
So I applied the calcium and I know we tell everybody not to do this, but I did it myself. An hour before rain, wet the grass at 12 inches. So most of it washed down and did affect it. But yeah, I was that guy. Well, so coming into this spring, what I'll probably do is hit it with a little bit more calcium, give it a boost, and then I like the combo of Nitro-Maxx, Aerate, and BioAct all mixed together. So I'll do 8 gallons of Nitro-Maxx, a quart of BioAct, and then I do need to do fresh soil samples to see where my P and K is at.
Okay.
But as for that combination, that's pretty hefty of what it brings back.
Yeah.
Well, you know how I figure out what to tell farmers as far as what you can and can't do. I got to mess it up myself to know.
Yeah, exactly.
So put it on tall grass. Like, that didn't work. Let's cut that down next time.
Yeah, I tell people on a daily basis not to put it on at that stage of growth, but I was like, it's going to rain in an hour, so might as well try it, see what happens.
Guys ask me all the time, how do you know? How do you know we shouldn't put it on that grass that's 12 inches tall? Because I've done it.
Yeah, I've done it too. Does it last as long?
I don't know the stove's hot unless I touch it.
Hey, it makes really good grass. So
it does. It gives you that giddy feeling.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Are you kind of along the same lines this year?
So yeah,
for your hay production,
we're on some of the production ground or Bermuda. Last year we just did Nitro-Maxx. We, traditionally I think we've been 777 farmers.
Go figure.
Yeah, God. And so we pulled those soil tests and we realized pretty quickly our potassium and phosphorus is really high. Yeah. And we had no available nitrogen. So it's like, oh, this is obvious. I know what we're doing here. We ran 8 gallons to the acre. The Nitro-Maxx, really liked how that worked out. If we would have had some better weather timing in my area, it would have done a lot better. But we still did better than we were expecting. I need to pull springtime soil samples, and I need to look. I think our potassium and phosphorus is probably still going to be middling to high. So we're probably going to focus largely on nitrogen again. Got our calcium out. We're still in our window there. So I'll probably hammer Nitro-Maxx and BioAct this year.
Yeah. You think about mixing in a gallon of humic in with that?
So we're talking about the humic on our new ground. We had decent levels of organic matter on our Bermuda, but the new ground that we just purchased, it's going to need a lot of help. So we're probably looking half gallon or better on the humic. It's real sandy ground. It's bottom ground. It's got a creek on it. It's pretty sizable creek. And I wouldn't call it blow sand. It probably started out as a sandy loam and then has been taxed with an inch of its existence. So we're starting from the ground up there, but it'll be great because I can, take pictures every step of the way and I can really show. I mean, I wish I had the pictures on me now. It's right. You guys have. I mean, Freddie might have. He's been overseas and seen a lot of sand, but it's like that. It's tough. So it's going to be one of those success stories once I get it all said and done.
Well, and I have some hillsides that I've been trying to cultivate. They've started to come along pretty well, but starting out, all the topsoil was eroded away. And so I have been doing a lot of humic applications. And then instead of harvesting that side, I actually let it grow up. And then I just cut it down so that way that the hay would all just stay on it. So I brush hog that one pretty frequently on the hillsides themselves, just to keep building up the organic matter, getting things in shape. And then this year I'll probably start harvesting it because it's starting to
so
improve pretty well.
The new property, like I said, had been, I imagine, had been dry lotted. And so we're going to I think we're probably going to pull the cows off of it at least for 3 years, probably not lease it out to graze for at least 3 years, just because it's been tapped so hard. And then I'll do something very similar to what you're talking about. We'll run the season out, then we'll drop everything. And we'll run the season out and drop everything, just to try to build it back up. I mean, there's a lot of good grass there, but it's few and far between. You know, it's like, oh, look, there's some Bermuda. 2 or 3 steps. Oh, look, there's some more Bermuda. It's it's tough, but I think, like I said, once it's all said and done, and give me a year or two on it, it'll be
Right.
top notch.
Well, with you saying the whole used to be a 17 farm, one thing I do want to say to that is if you guys are just unsure, if you need a little help, we do get a lot of new farmers that kind of need some guidance. Put in your info, reach out to us. We're all trained, we're soil advisors. That's where all of our training and our schooling comes from, is to advise people on the absolute best programs and ways to be good stewards of their fields. And so with that being said, contact us. We're free consultations. You can get us on the phone anytime. All of us have no problem sitting and texting with you 24 hours a day. Heck, you can call us and talk to us while you're mixing stuff.
Oh, you're up at 3 a.m. about me.
I'm just saying, we got farmers that the only time they got time is 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
We understand that. We've been doing this job for quite a while. We know what the lifestyle is, what needs to be done. And I just, want you guys to feel comfortable with reaching out to us and knowing that every time you get us on the phone, you don't have to pay for us.
That's it.
You get us on the phone, we'll talk to you 24/7. Heck, I've been on the phone with guys while I've been sitting there trying to make sure they're doing the mixing instructions correctly. You and me have been on 3-way phone calls, calibrating sprayers for people.
Yep.
Literally, I know each one of us here have probably gone out and done a lot of research and homework in areas for farmers to find equipment that might be better for them, to find the right seed, to find the right herbicide, the right burn down program, anything like that. Just harping on it. I know it's kind of like beating a dead horse, but feel free to reach out to us. We're just normal human beings, family-owned and operated company, and we're really, really easy going. Love to help, absolutely anyone and everyone out that we can.
Thanks for joining us again today. It was a great episode of the podcast. Hope you guys learned a lot. Thanks for coming down from Oklahoma, Colton.
Absolutely.
And thanks for always being here, Caleb.
Coming up.
And join us again next time.
Special announcement. If you follow our social media, it has to be one of them. You have to follow us. You have to like, comment on the video, and share as well. And anyone that has all of those tasks checked off, we're going to choose one special person to send a free 5-gallon pail of BioAct. BioAct in 5 gallons will cover 20 to 40 acres, depending on how many ounces we do. But we will also have a soil advisor reach out to you and give you the working steps of the BioAct. But one free 5-gallon pail of BioAct.
Are we excluded from this contest? I might sign up right now.
Yeah, we're excluded from the contest. Absolutely.
I'll enter your name.
We've played around with BioAct too much. We've had too much fun with it. This is for someone on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, on wherever Dylan is going to decide to publish this, even if it's on a Snapchat story. Whoever does all the tasks we ask them to do, we'll get them a free 5-gallon pail, and we'll watch them have success.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Boom.
Bye.